Hey kids, you're listening to A Couple of Annoyed Grunt Boys, and this is the 138th Simpsons podcast. That's right, we're the Simpsons podcast that discusses, you guessed it, The Simpsons, from seasons 11 and beyond. And you're asking yourself, why would you do it that way? Well, because plenty of other podcasts out there have discussed the golden age of The Simpsons. That's, of course, seasons 1 through 10. We are tasked to find if any episodes from the latter seasons can match those golden age episodes we all know and love. And I say we because I don't do this alone. No, that would be terrible. Because I'm just one annoyed grunt boy named Boney McDork. With me, as always, is the other annoyed grunt boy.
Duff McKenzie. No. Spuds McDuff. No. Boobs McGee. Steve.
There you go. And I'm actually Craig. Steve, how does it feel to be celebrating our 310th episode with a 310th episode of, check my notes, The Simpsons?
Wow. There aren't a lot of other podcasts that have reached this milestone of 310 episodes. But, you know, one such podcast is the Joe Rogan Experience. And you know what they did? They had Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I like to say that we're reviewing the episode of The Simpsons, which is far more entertaining than some dork, so that's something.
Steve, do you want me to do my impersonation of Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Sure.
All right, first I gotta put the makeup on.
Oh, God.
What?
I'm glad this is not a visual medium.
Well, Steve, guess what? Because today is our first visual... No. I don't do a Neil deGrasse Tyson impersonation. Sorry, Steve.
It's probably for the best.
But, yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that if we had just started this podcast with season 1, episode 1, and went in the actual order like, you know, a podcast should, that we're already at season 14 after, like, how many years? 5 years? That's crazy talk.
Oh, that's my brother. We're all a little worried about him.
I feel like we would have probably ended this podcast, like, a couple years ago, like, with, like, season 9, at least. Or 10.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned it this last week, but with our rule about going from seasons 11 and beyond, we still have like 5 more years of shows to watch. So we're only getting started. Like, we're only about halfway done, and that's not even counting the Golden Age. So don't forget, we're here forever.
Because we're doing the newest episodes, too.
Yeah.
Like, if we just put parameters, like, we're just going to review seasons 20 to 30.
Mm-hmm.
We would have been done by now.
That's true. Yeah, we've done about 10 years of episodes. Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
But we haven't reached the Malcolm Gladwell numbers, have we?
No, we're still not good at this.
Like, Steve finally bought, like, a new microphone, and it's after, like, 310 episodes.
I thought I'd throw something in there.
Thanks.
Next, I'm going to buy a laptop.
Your microphone says Fisher-Price, so I don't know if I'm really trusting that one.
I mean, I like to save money, so Price, and I always thought that I'd be a good sportsman, like a Fisher, so it makes sense.
And why is Bluey on it?
I talked to the guy in the alley and was like, also, could I get a Bluey? And he's like, okay, and this is what I got, so I was a little disappointed, but...
Well, enough of your tomfoolery, Steve. Let's just get on with this week's episode. We're going to do something that we haven't done in a while, and that's going back in time.
Oh.
All the way back to the year 2003, May 4th. What was going on in pop culture at the time? Like box office and number one songs. Do we still do that on these episodes?
We sure do. And the number one movie was X2, X-Men United.
That was a very popular X-Men film, Steve.
Indeed it was. I liked X2. I liked that whole series.
Yeah, X2 is like probably considered one of the better of the X-Men films. Kind of dated now, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched the first one in a long time. And X3 is not good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But the Fassbender ones are good.
Yeah.
Like the First Class, I like that one. Days of Future Past. But then I think there's only like 3 or 4 good X-Men movies. And then like Dark Phoenix wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
And, Age of Apocalypse wasn't good. But now hopefully we get a whole new X-Men in the MCU eventually, right?
I think so, yeah. We're due for it.
I hope you get the job of Professor X, Steve, because you're bald.
Mm-hmm, and I don't like walking that much, so.
And who do I get to play as an X-Men?
You can be, let's say, Jubilee.
Who?
Jubilee?
I think they said Julie.
Julie X-Men.
Hey, I'm Julie X-Men. I don't actually, not a mutant. That's just my last name, X-Men.
Yeah.
I bet I was. I'm not sure. Maybe. No, I don't know if I saw it with you, but I definitely did see this movie probably opening weekend. So I was watching the X-Men while waiting for the Simpsons on Sunday.
Me too, and we're all in the club listening to the Billboard Hot 100.
Ooh, let me guess.
Okay.
Billy Joel in the club.
That's right. Next to the piano man himself, 50 Cent.
All right, well, we'll go with that, Steve. I feel like we've heard In the Club on this podcast a couple times.
I think
very
so.
Very popular song. Isn't 50 Cent problematic now? I don't remember.
I do think he is, and I don't remember why, but...
Well, Steve, you know who's not problematic?
Who's that?
Matt Groening, who created this show.
Yeah, I think given other people's everything, all in all, yeah, I think that's fine.
All right, well, let's just get on with this week's episode, Steve. We're talking about Old Yeller Belly, in which, after getting branded a coward by Homer during a treehouse fire, Santa's Little Helper becomes a commercial celebrity for Duff Beer. And the owner who abandoned Santa's Little Helper from the first episode of Simpson Roast on Open Fire returns to retrieve his meal ticket. Ooh. Oh no, is he going to eat Santa's Little Helper?
I sure hope not.
All right, Steve, how about we take a little break, watch the episode, and come back and talk all about it.
Sounds delightful.
All right, we'll be right back.
Oh, Lisa's having a tea party.
And we're back. Today we're talking about Old Yeller Belly. It's the 19th episode of the 14th season. It's episode 310 in the show's run. It's also our 310th episode. It originally aired May 4th, May the 4th be with you, 2003. Your nerd code is EABF14. Written by John Frink and Don Payne. Directed by Bob Anderson, my great uncle. And showrunner is Al Jean.
Well, your great uncle did a great job, and John Frink and Don Payne both celebrated people in the Simpsons writing room. John Frink, written for several episodes of The Simpsons, and he wrote them a lot with his partner, Don Payne. And they started with the sitcom Hope and Gloria, and they first started in The Simpsons in 2000. And so Frink has written 39 episodes, 9 of which with Don Payne. And this is his 16th episode that we've reviewed, including Simpsons Tall Tales, The Bart Once What Did Once, also with Don Payne, The Wandering Juvie, Bart Mangled Banner, All About Lisa, Lost Horizon, The Bob Next Door, 500 Keys, Politically Inept with Homer Simpson. That would be the episode with that crazy Wango Tango guy. What's his name?
Bart Simpson.
There it is, thank you. What to Expect When Bart's Expecting, and Love is in the Chemical, Simprovised, and Pixelated and Frayed, and Bartless. And then we have Donald Payne, who is no longer with us. He passed away in 2013 from heart failure caused by bone cancer. But he wrote, before he died, it would be weird if he did it afterwards, he wrote 18 episodes with John Frink, and this is the 8th episode of his that we've reviewed, aside from Tall Tales and The Bart Once What It Once. He also did Fraudcast News, Thank God It's Doomsday, Simpsons Christmas Stories, Love Springfield Style, and that's about it.
That's quite the list of episodes you just told our listeners.
Indeed.
Let's not forget Don Payne wrote Thor and Thor the Dark World.
Ah, yes.
You know, people shit on the first couple Thor movies, but I enjoyed the first one at least. Second one's kind of fine. But it's no Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, which he also wrote.
Ah, yes. Has there been a good Fantastic Four movie?
Yes, and it's called The Incredibles. Check it out.
Okay, there you go.
Well, we're hoping that this new one, with Pedro Pascal and the bear cousin.
Oh, yeah.
As the Thing, and the guy from Stranger Things, Eddie, and a woman is in it. Jesus. I should know what the actress is. Is it Jodie Comer?
I don't think it matters, because she won't have a lot of visibility in the film anyway, so.
I never was really into the Fantastic Four as a comic. I don't know. Were you? Because you went through your Spider-Man rereads, the old ones. Did you ever dive into what good old Stan Lee was writing about the first family of Marvel?
See, I tried to get into it because Human Torch and Spider-Man are buds. They built a car together.
Wait a minute. How come we've never built a car together?
That's true. Are we friends? I don't know. We've never built a car together.
What are you doing this weekend?
Well, let's build a car.
All right. We'll have to go to the lumber yard like the Simpsons do in this episode and get our...
That's true.
Get our ingredients to make a car.
all the best wood for our car.
Yeah. No, we're not making a pine box car. No, we're making an actual car. It'll still be better than the Tesla Cybertruck.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe we can build a wooden Cybertruck. It'd still be more attractive. But yeah, the Fantastic Four. I could never get into them either. I tried to start it from the beginning, and I read a couple of issues, and it just didn't do it for me. I'm more of a lone wolf kind of Spider-Man guy.
All right. Are you excited for the new Spider-Man cartoon, Steve? That's coming out on Disney Plus in probably a couple weeks from this recording.
I am. I'm always welcoming to new Spider-Man stuff. I know that the internet is mad about it because of recasting and whatnot, but I don't care. It doesn't matter. He got bit by a radioactive spider. It's all dumb.
Yeah, I don't need it to be part of the MCU. Make it its own thing. I'm fine with that. Well, should we just get on with this week's episode, Steve?
Yes, Craig, and we get to start off with this being an older episode. We get all the things, so let's start off with a chalkboard gag. What does it say, Craig?
Well, I haven't watched the episode yet, so thanks for writing the notes for me. It says, "My penis, not a booger launcher."
I mean, sometimes it could be, I guess.
Wait, is it not actually my penis?
It's my pen is a booger. Yeah. The kerning was a little close together, I guess.
Technically, you can make your penis a booger launcher. It'd be very... Now I want to see Bart do that. And
I'm sure the internet can provide.
But, I think it makes sense. When Bart gets his first erection, he's just going to hey, cool, I can put a booger on here and launch it. He's not going to, learn to pound off.
Yeah.
There is a couch gag as well. It's the parody of that famous photograph, lunchtime atop of the skyscraper. The Simpsons family is wearing their early 20th century garb and is watching the TV from a girder at a construction site. Steve, I'm sure people have all seen that famous photo.
Yeah, and for me, the first time I experienced that famous photo was at a pizza place that we both worked at. I don't think that when I started there that I knew how universally known that photograph was. And so I thought it was special to the pizza place. And so when I saw it other places, oh man, that's just the equivalent of a motivational poster. It's just some picture, and it doesn't really matter. But for a little while, I thought it was special.
Yeah, and what did it have to do with pizza?
I don't know. Yeah,
I think they were in all the locations, if I remember correctly.
Maybe they were building a pizza parlor, a very tall pizza parlor.
Well, should we just get on with this episode, Steve?
I suppose we should. And our episode begins, as it always does, with Homer stepping out of the back door of 742 Evergreen Terrace and taking Maggie out of the trash. And in a treehouse above him, the Hole in the Underwear gang are having a meeting, and as usual, no girls are allowed. The boys begin their get-together with a jaunty public domain song parody.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. Teacher hit me with a ruler. I cracked her in the bean with a frozen Jimmy Dean, and she ain't my teacher no more. Because she's dead. Mr. Secretary, can you read the minutes of our last meeting? Girls are yucky. Seconded and carried. A fart was detected. Martin denied it, and so was ruled to have supplied it. Good.
In the song, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
I'm imagining Krabappel in it, which is sad because it ends with Nelson saying, "And now she's dead." It's true.
Sure.
Why were they hitting her clitoris? They said they hit her in the bean.
With a frozen sausage, too.
Yeah. This is very perverted song.
And it seems like, they're into some kinky stuff because first she hit them with a ruler, so it's some BDSM stuff. And then, they smacked her clitoris with a frozen Jimmy Bean sausage, thereby killing her.
Did you paint a picture for the listeners, Steve? I hope you did.
I hope so, yeah. If not, listeners, paint a picture for us, literally, and set us in of the boys doing what they do.
Were you ever part of a club as in Bart's age, like a clubhouse or anything like that, treehouse gang?
I feel like when I was 7 or 8, we had it was kind of like a homework thing where a couple of kids would come over after school to my house and hang out in my garage and we'd do homework or something, but it was not I think it was boys and girls.
Ugh, gross.
I know. And also, yeah, we weren't the hole in the underwear gang.
It's like a glory hole. That's why they said glory, glory, hallelujah.
That's what I was thinking.
It's an interesting group of kids, too, right? You have Bart, Milhouse, Martin, and Nelson, and then Database, which is like, I feel like Database is someone that hangs out with Lisa.
Right. And, like, I could see, like, Martin and Database hanging out, but, like, with Database and Nelson there, it's a little weird. It's like when you, like, bring your girlfriend to your friend's place and, like, they don't get along.
Or, like, your girlfriend to your Guma's apartment.
Exactly.
It's just weird. Like, why am I bringing my wife to my Guma's? And I love my Guma, Steve.
Guma's great. Got tits the size of your head.
Yeah, like Nelson is the X factor in this group. Like I can see Bart and them hanging out. Because Bart's a kid that will hang out with everybody. But Nelson, like I imagine if like Kearney and Jimbo and Dolph saw Nelson in there, they'd probably kick his ass.
Yeah, I think so. And like, here's what I'm thinking is that Nelson was going to banjo practice because we see that he plays the banjo in this.
Who's his teacher? Steve Martin?
Probably, yes.
He can't afford Martin, so it's probably Ed Helms.
Ugh, yeah. I mean, Steve Martin has been on the show. I don't think Ed Helms has yet, so. Season 37, Ed Helms as the banjo teacher. But I assume that the bullies saw Nelson practicing and they made fun of him, so he had to like hang out with the dorks, and that's where he got to hang out with Martin some more, and the future is written.
All right. Well, Bart then asks his security officer, Martin, speaking of, to check the scope. So he pulls down a periscope with tassel handles. It's probably from like an old bicycle. Checking out what's going on around the city. And Martin sets his sights on the Springfield dry cleaners, where Comic Book Guy is picking up his freshly pressed outfits. And there's a costume of your friendly neighborhood web slinger. That, of course, is Spider-Man. Everyone's favorite Vulcan, Spock. And everyone's favorite Bruce Wayne, Batman.
Wait, what?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Man.
So seeing that the Bat Pants have been shredded, Comic Book Guy blames the Riddler. And when the sarcastic dry cleaner employee says it was just his ass, Comic Book Guy responds that's what he calls his ass, the Riddler.
What would you call your ass if it had to be a comic book character?
Big Barda.
We don't have to stick it to villains, I suppose, because speaking of the Fantastic Four, I'd call mine both the Thing and the Human Torch.
How about Bouncing Boy?
The Blob.
Bloodsport. Well, the obvious is Darkseid.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, have you been watching the new Creature Commandos? There's Dr. Phosphorus. That would count.
That works, yes. Booster Gold.
Devastator.
Parasite.
Eradicator.
Ra's al Ghul.
Elongated Man.
Red Tornado.
Enchantress.
Sandman.
False Face.
Speedy.
Firebrand.
Swamp Thing.
Granny Goodness.
Turtle.
Giganta.
The Thinker.
General Immortus.
Vanquisher.
Glorious Godfrey.
X-Bomb Betty.
Hush.
Mr. Mixelplick.
Heatwave.
That's a good one. Knockout.
Johnny Thunder.
And John Stewart.
Parentheses, Green Lantern, Steve.
Of course. So Martin continues his patrol, landing on Lisa's bedroom, where she's having a tea party with Janie and Sherry O'Terry.
You say titty party?
A tea party.
Okay, or titty party.
I mean, I don't know what little girls have, but
Jesus.
Maybe they have titty parties. I don't know. And I don't need to know. In the treehouse, Bart, with an assumed understanding of the female mind, thinks that Lisa and her friends are plotting against the boys. So Milhouse demands audio surveillance, and Database is happy to provide, climbing on a limb to place a tin can tied to a string against the glass.
With Operation Ladybug as a success, the boys listen in as Lisa offers her partygoers some more tea. She then introduces her toy unicorn, Balthazar, who will inform them about global warming and the land beyond the rainbow. As Lisa describes the horrible effect of climate change in the land of make-believe, saying that each year, 7 species of gumdrops are lost. What do you think of the girls hanging out? Like, Lisa sometimes has them as friends, but sometimes they're not friends.
Yeah, I think that Janie is probably her true blue friend. Like, I think that for the most part, Janie and her are friends sometimes. And I think Sherry and O'Terry are just there for the ride. Like, they're cool with Janie, maybe not so much Lisa, but, like, they just need something to do.
I feel like Lisa needs to have a permanent friend. Like, she needs her Millhouse. I just think it's like writing, even probably now, today, like, even just then, like, it seems like always the female characters seem to, like, not have... No, I can take that back, because... It was kind of like, I'm just not thinking like Full House. Like,
yeah.
I guess they all kind of had friends.
But in a way, that's kind of a rare thing for all the characters to have friends. Because usually you have, like, if we're talking about sitcoms, like, they might have a friend for comic relief. Like, say, with Blossom, she had Six, who was there for comic relief, but she didn't have any other friends. But, like, all three of the Tanner children had a number of friends. Like Stephanie had the Duck Kid.
Yeah, Duckface, and then... Harry, which was she married him.
That's right.
But they didn't have like a Kimmy Gibbler,
right?
Like who was someone throughout the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
Like Michelle, like had a couple friends, like Journey Smollett's character, and then Teddy.
Yeah,
and then but now I'm thinking like family ties, right? Okay, so Alex Keaton had Skippy was his friend, but then like Mallory, she just had a boyfriend. And then did Tina the Others even have a friend?
I don't think so, but that's why she turned goth. I guess that was real life, though. Yeah, like Growing Pains, Mikey had Boner.
Right.
And he also had Andrew Koenig as a friend.
R.I.P.
That's right. But yeah, like Tracy Gold's character, Carol, didn't, whatever her name was, she didn't really have any friends, and neither did Ben.
Ben? That's my... Mike Seaver impersonation. Ben!
May he also rest in peace.
Yeah. Okay, another TV show, real quick. Seinfeld. You know, Jerry had 3 friends, but none of those other people had friends.
It's true.
Ross had... Was anyone really Ross's friend?
I don't really think so, because, like, Joey and Chandler, they were buds.
But were they? They just lived together.
Yeah. But, like, they made a friendship, I feel like, after a while.
Okay.
And, like, Rachel and Monica were friends from high school.
Right.
Or at least they knew each other in high school. I wouldn't even say they were friends because I feel like Rachel was a higher social class than Monica.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And Phoebe was there just because of roommate stuff.
Right.
Nobody liked Ross. Ross sucked.
Yeah. We should probably just stop talking about Friends and start talking about Simpsons.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from the treehouse, Bart takes the can and does some pretending of his own. Doing a spot-on Marge impression, he calls out to Lisa, informing her that her doctor says that her butt is too big. And after realizing that it's not her mother speaking, Lisa sees the can wedged in the window, spying on them. So she tugs on the can, and the boys pull back in response. Milhouse complaining that no one told him that there would be pulling.
Yeah, I just want to go back to Bart. I just love when Bart does impersonations of Simpsons characters, like, especially when people do Marge. It's very funny.
Yeah. Also, I love how wholesome and old-fashioned this whole scene is. Like, the R Gang boys, the Hole in the Underwear gang, talking through a tin can on a string, while the girls have a tea party. Like, it's all very innocent.
It's very 1950s Americana.
Exactly.
Right. So the boys and the girls tug back and forth until friction causes the treehouse to fall to pieces and the boys to fall to the ground. So examining his injuries, Milhouse is excited to have skinned elbows as it will score him some pity. So with his glasses askew, he runs off crying to his mommy. And seeing the wreckage, Homer vows to build a new treehouse so grand it'll be an affront to God themselves. Bart requests a rope ladder that you can pull up behind you, and Homer agrees, provided that it also is an affront to God.
As all things should be. Homer and Bart hit the road for supplies, but as Bart points out, they drive right past the lumberyard. Saying that only losers buy wood, Homer declares that they're headed to Nature's Lumberyard. So with a gleeful laugh, Homer disregards the no trespassing sign and drives straight into the woods.
So instead of cutting down trees from a forest, Bart and Homer are pulling wooden ties from a railroad track. I gotta say that this joke is pretty brilliant.
It is, yeah.
The fact that you drive by, the lumberyard and he goes right into the woods and you're thinking, okay, so he's going to chop down a tree. But instead, they're just pulling the wood from track. Like, I don't know. There's a nice beat.
It is. And it's actually kind of brilliant because, Homer is smart, but he's dumb, but he's also lazy. And pulling the tracks, you already have wooden planks. Like, if you had a tree, you got to chop down the tree and then you got to shape it. So it's kind of brilliant.
So Bart wonders aloud if this is dangerous, but Homer assures him that the track they're pulling from has been abandoned since 19, and before he can finish the year, a multi-car locomotive barrels down the track. Uh-oh.
Yep. So when the train arrives at the point where the wood has been stolen, it takes to the air, flying above Homer and Bart, twisting wildly as the passengers aboard scream with terror. It then lands smoothly on the other side, continuing its route as if nothing happened. As Homer puts it, nothing beats flying across the country on a train.
I was kind of hoping that there was like cheers from the passengers. Like it was a ride.
Yeah.
Having fun.
So in the backyard, Lisa is glad that her father has made plans for this project, but notices a little issue.
I'm impressed that you drew up blueprints, but these are for a go-kart track.
Did Frank Lloyd Wright have to deal with people like you?
Actually, Frank Lloyd Wright endured a lot of harsh criticism.
Look, I have no idea who Frank Lloyd Wright is.
You said his name 2 seconds ago.
I was just putting words together.
I love Lisa's actually. It's just so spot on and annoying.
A little Adam Conover she is.
Okay, I think I might have to admit something on this podcast, Steve. I don't know if I'm an idiot or everyone knows this. How are blueprints made? Like, I don't know. Like, I imagine it's like, is there a piece of blue paper and they draw on with a white pen?
Yeah, I assume it's some sort of carbon copy situation.
I guess I could Google how our blueprints are made.
How do blueprints work? Light-sensitive paper and a tracing paper with a drawing on it.
That solves it, Steve. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. I don't think your question is that dumb, because I never really thought about it either. Like, it's just, yeah, blueprints, they're a thing, but yeah, I don't know exactly how they work.
Much like our government, am I right?
It's true.
Anyway, Steve, as Homer saws away, Bart crawls on all fours in order to blow the wood shavings into Homer's face. After a cough and a sneeze, Homer says that 2 can play at that game, smacking Bart's ass with the saw, and Bart then throws a monkey wrench to Homer's head, followed by a power sander. So Homer trips over a few planks of wood, falling to the ground. This gives Bart the perfect opportunity to shove his cock into Homer's mouth. And Homer laughs as Bart's white goo fills his gaping maw.
That's what happens.
Was I supposed to say it in a different way?
No, I mean, that's the way I perceived it. And it was shooting a sticky white substance into Homer's mouth.
All right, let's continue.
Yeah. Okay. So witnessing this tomfoolery, Marge feels that the treehouse is never going to be built. It's time to call in the pros. So she grabs a cowbell from seemingly nowhere and rings it. And on the other side of town, the Amish community hears the call to action and knows that somebody needs the Amish. So farmers stop harvesting and rush to their buggy mobile. 2 couples in a hot tub stand, fully dressed, and head to offer assistance. And in a barn nearby, an Amish man has the devil cornered, ironically pointing a pitchfork at Satan. But once the cowbell is heard, the man drops the pitchfork, and the hoof demon nonchalantly whistles as he walks away.
Good for Satan.
Yeah, good for him to get away.
The Amish begin construction on the treehouse, working as one to raise a wall without the aid of modern technology. So Marge comments that the Amish are so industrious, unlike the shiftless Mennonites, who are in a back alley smoking cigarettes and playing craps. And Homer assures Bart that his treehouse will be bigger and better than ever, which restores Homer's faith in helpful weirdos.
I think it's interesting that this is the second time they've had the Amish help them with a backyard project.
Don't you wish Amish people were that readily available to help you build things?
Yeah, like I try them on the cell phone and they never answer. They leave me on red, as the kids say. So, at the unveiling of the treehouse, Lisa and Maggie shine flashlights upward, which send beams of light into the night sky, as if it were the premiere of a big Hollywood movie, or the opening of a new Hollywood video store. There's food inside, a punch bowl, and even an ice sculpture of a nude Homer sitting in the style of Rodin's The Thinker. Seemingly all of Springfield has arrived for the grand opening of a children's treehouse, from Bumblebee Man, Reverend Lovejoy, Hans Moleman, and in an act of good faith, even the devil's in the background.
Homer plugs in a neon sign that says Bart's Place in a glowing green hue. Dr. Hibbert is impressed, asking Homer if he did the wiring himself. And Homer responds that the Amish did it, because who knows more about electricity than the Amish? Just then, electrical sparks shoot out of the outlet, sending flames across the floor of the treehouse.
Everyone screams and makes their way to the exit. Homer tells them to watch their step, not to panic, and then informs them that by going down the ladder, the people are agreeing not to sue. Homer then tries to escape, but is met with a wall of flames. He turns around and runs into the ice sculpture, which pins his bottom half to the ground. Homer complains that his head is burning, his legs are freezing, but his middle is very pleasant.
So Homer looks around, relieved to see that Santa's little helper is there. He calls for the dog to pull him free, but Santa's little helper looks at him, scared. But Homer assures the pooch that he can do it. And so the dog begins to walk to Homer, but a flame roars near him, and the dog whimpers and runs away. Homer wonders where man's best friend is going, saying that he even took him out for a walk once. And then Santa's little helper pops back up, only to grab the whole cooked turkey that we saw earlier in the scene.
I love a cartoon whole cooked turkey. It's just such a great stand-in for food in general. It's like video games when it would restore your health.
Is it one of those like TV foods? Like, I want to eat that.
It is, and like a normal turkey isn't that great.
No.
But yeah, the cartoon turkey always looks so good.
I think it's the fake turkey in the Muppet Christmas Carol at the end. Spoilers.
Oh yeah,
that looks so good.
It does, yeah.
It's not as good as cartoon pizza. That's still the best food.
That is top tier, like Ninja Turtles, the ooey gooey cheese pizza. Always looks good. So, as smoke fills the burning treehouse, Homer coughs, nearly passing out. Down below, Santa's little helper gnaws on a turkey leg as Marge does a family head count, touching Lisa's head, followed by Maggie's, then Bart's, and her own, saying, "Pointy, pointy, spiky, stylish." That's great. She then notices that Baldy is gone. I'm right here. Homer screams and Marge leaps into action, climbing the rope ladder. Unfortunately, the flames burn the ladder, causing Marge to fall to the ground.
So, as heroic music plays, Snowball 2 leaps from Lisa's arms and climbs the trees with ease. So the cat crawls atop Homer and tries to wake him. And after a few unsuccessful pats with her paw, or is it his paw, and some meows, Snowball 2 swipes at Homer. This awakens him, though a little confused by his surroundings.
Flames? Searing Payne? A black cat? I must be in heaven.
Homie, get out of that treehouse!
Move the net under the window!
There's no net!
Ah! I always thought cats were just for losers who live in apartments, until my life was saved by this sweet little kitty. But as for you, Santa's little helper, you are a selfish coward and a bad dog. Get out and stay out!
Fucking Santa's little helper.
Ugh. That dog. You mentioned, like, is it a he or a she? And this will kind of play into account later, but I feel like I always assumed that I know that Snowball has had many iterations, and there's an episode where several of the cats die, but I always assumed that Snowball 2 was a girl, because cat's girl, dog boy. Also, I always thought it was funny that Snowball is a black cat.
Well, it's because the original Snowball, of course, Steve, was white.
I know. And it died the same year as The Simpsons premiere, because in the letter that Marge is writing to the newsletter about holidays, she mentions that it died.
Did you have a cat die in 1989?
Did I have a cat die in 1989? Not intentionally. I'll say that much. I don't think so.
Weird. Okay, hey, Steve. At Moe's, Snowball 2 enjoys a bowl of Kahlua and cream. Steve, here you go. I made you a bowl of Kahlua and cream. But you have to lick it like a cat.
Of course.
While the barkeeper and his patrons watch, so Santa's little helper pokes his head into the tavern with a sad hangdog face, and Homer calls him a coward and tells the dog to stop following him. Moe agrees with Homer's sentiment, calling the dog a Phoebe Waller. I mean, a flea bag. Before ousting him for being unsanitary. And Moe is then smitten by Snowball 2, who is just sitting in the middle of his dinner. Moe tells the cat that she or he can stay on the plate, and that he'll just, eat around her.
Yeah, and if you're somebody with a cat, you know that they are not great with personal boundaries. So yeah, that is, I don't let my cat sit on my plate, but a lot of times if I'm eating something, my cat will just come up to my face and try and eat it too. I'm just like, hey dude, stop. As word of her heroism spreads across Springfield, Snowball 2 becomes a local celebrity. Homer walks through town carrying her or him on a pillow. Sideshow Mel calls the cat a hero cat, and Luigi offers her some freshly made lasagna so she or he can eat it up like the cat in the funny papers, who to Luigi isn't that funny. Of course, talking about Garfield.
Oh, I thought they were talking about Heathcliff. Has Heathcliff ever ate lasagna?
I'm sure at some point. I mean, now he just likes bubblegum and ham and not making sense.
Where does he get those hams from? Marge?
Probably, yeah.
So Mayor Quimby celebrates Snowball 2 as well, telling the crowd that he can truly state, Ich bin ein Feline. He then renames Springfield Dog Park Snowball 2 Municipal Cat Park, sponsored by Buzz Cola with lemon. Diamond then takes a sip of the Buzz variety and declaring, damn, that's a lemony cola. And the media is taking pictures. Remember that time when, like, Coke was just coming out with new flavors?
Yeah, and, like, Pepsi, too. I feel like when this episode aired, I think Pepsi with lemon was a big thing, and probably Coke was trying to do, like, I know that they tried the Coke Black, which is Coke with coffee added. And yeah, I think there was a berry Pepsi for a little while, and yeah,
they're still doing it. They're still, because I'll see mystery flavor Pepsi or Coke, you know, and you gotta figure it out or something. I don't know. Like, there's like different flavors, yeah.
Right, and Coke has a weird, like, line, I think last year, of like the weird AI-inspired drinks, like, that tastes like a dream or something.
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking, the Dream Coke. And actually, it wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't bad. It was just, I don't know what they were going for.
Right. I remember, like, when it was around this time, too, like, you just had your Cokes and Diet Cokes. But then, when they're like, Cherry Coke was always a thing, too. But all of a sudden, like, Vanilla Coke is, like, coming out. And you're like, ooh, this is amazing. And I remember I was kind of disappointed because you could go to, like, a diner and order a Vanilla Coke, and they put, like, the actual vanilla syrup in the Coke, and it was damn tasty. But the Coke version was not good.
No, it tasted really, like, artificial and chemically. And yeah, I do remember in Milwaukee, in a town near Portland, my brother lived, and at his local Kroger or Fred Meyer, they had, like, a 50s-style diner inside of the grocery store. And I remember getting a vanilla Coke from them when I was, like, 8 or 9, and it was so good. And then when Coke released their own, I was, like, excited for it. But like you say, it was just it wasn't it. It didn't hit like the original.
Yeah, fuck you, Ted Turner.
That's right.
Didn't he own Coke?
Probably, yeah. Certainly did a lot of Coke, I'm sure.
Alright, that's what I meant. Well, outside of the one-time dog park, Santa's little helper watches, forlorn. Other dogs walk up to him and growl in anger, and he just whimpers in sadness. And back in the park, Homer is interviewed by Ken Brockman.
Mr. Simpson, how long have you been a cat person?
All my life, Kent. I prefer catsup to ketchup, and to me, Yusuf Islam will always be Cat Stevens.
Terrific stuff. You must really love the Broadway musical Cats.
God, no, it sucks.
Seems like you're quite the animal lover. Do you have any other pets? A dog, perhaps?
Kent, let me make this perfectly clear. I have no dog.
Strong words. Strong words from a strange man.
Don't worry, boy. We'll get you out of the doghouse. Then you and Dad will be chasing butterflies together again.
The run of, you must love the musical Cats.
Yeah. Didn't they make fun of Cats? I mean, I don't want to date this episode, but last week we had a new episode, and they featured Andrew Lloyd Webber, and they talked about how crappy Cats was also.
Yeah. The Simpsons don't like cats, Steve.
Yeah, nobody does. I remember seeing ads for it when I was a kid, like when I'd go on a touring company, and it would just scare me. Like,
It does look scary.
Yeah, and the movie is pretty god-awful.
Still haven't seen it, and I'm fine with that.
I think you're better than fine. Back at home, Lisa offers Santa's little helper a new role model to admire. She shows him a video of Rin Tin Tin, saying that he showed bravery both on screen and off, going on to say that Rin Tin Tin was the first openly gay dog in Hollywood. She then goes to show the movie of the pooch leaping through Nazi Germany. The heroic dog of cinema leaps through a bunker, biting Adolf Hitler in the axis, or the butt.
I always thought the first openly gay dog in Hollywood was Bark Hudson.
Or James Dog.
Who?
I was going to say James Dean, but...
Was he?
Yeah, he was. He and Sal Mineo were probably...
Oh. Spoilers. It's something that he would like on a car. Spoilers.
It's very true. He was a car guy.
I love that scene with... Like, it shows that just, like, a fake dog that's biting Hitler's butt, because, like, the dog doesn't move. It's just, like, a giant stuffed dog.
Yeah.
This little detail is just very funny.
Mm-hmm.
Making it look like a fake movie. Unless that is a real movie. If it is, I really want to watch it.
Yeah. Seems like a lot of fun.
Well, Lisa tells her canine friend that Rin Tin Tin is what he should aspire to be. Just then, a postal worker spotting a push broom mustache and his hair combed to one side arrives, much like how Charlie Chaplin or Hitler would look. He's raising the day's mail up with his right hand and assuming it's the fear. So Santa's little helper jumps on the mailman who regrets his following his wife's advice to grow a mustache.
That's such a great joke.
It is. So dumb.
I just like that. Oh, grow a mustache, she says. You look handsome, she says. This is so silly. So later that day, Homer sits in his hammock when he notices that his hamburger is missing something. Beer. So he goes to the kitchen, leaving his burger on a plate on the ground. So Santa's little helper sees the burger and eats the rest of it in 2 big bites. Homer emerges from the house, Duff in hand, just in time to witness the family dog, not that one, take his lunch. So Homer begins to choke Santa's little helper, but Marge stops him, saying that what he's doing is inhumane, and she then suggests that he uses the choke chain, which is funny because choke chains are awful. Homer puts the choke chain around the dog's neck, telling him to watch as he enjoys an entire ham. Marge is then instructed to prepare Homer's emergency ham.
Remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, where you change, it's inhumane to chain your dog up, obviously. But then they came out with the shock collars, like, this is perfect. You don't have to chain your dog up. You have a perimeter around your yard. And we thought that was smart and humane for a year. And then people were like, this is really horrible. Why are we doing this to our dogs?
Yeah, it's really weird. Choking or shocking your dog, it's not cool.
Your dog's like, okay, I guess I won't go over here. It made dogs paranoid of going anywhere because they were afraid they were going to get shocked.
Yeah, I remember I had a dog for a little while, and we didn't use either of those, but we had a citronella thing. So when the dog would bark, it would spray citronella into its face.
Jesus.
And that it's non-toxic, but dogs don't like it, and that seems just as bad in retrospect. Sure, I'm not shocking it, but I'm still punishing it for talking. You can't do that to a child.
Oh, you can't?
I mean, I wouldn't, but
I'll be right back. I gotta remove some stuff from my house real quick.
Okay.
Do you have an emergency ham? Because I actually do have an emergency ham in our freezer.
I think we might actually have an emergency ham in our freezer too.
It's during the holidays, after a Thanksgiving or a Christmas, there's always meat sales. The big hams were pretty much half off. So it's we just got a couple. And it's a couple. We have a couple turkeys and a couple hams because they were cheap. So we have thaw them and have that. That's a meal for a whole week. So yes, we have an emergency ham.
I love a good ham. You just munch on it all week. It's great.
Yeah, you really do go a whole week eating the ham. You're I'm never having ham again for a year, but I'll have to make do with a ham sometime in, let's say, March.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Well, left alone, Santa's little helper sniffs at the can of Duff that Homer dropped. He then sticks his nose in the can, tilting it above his head to get the last few drops of beer inside. So photojournalist Dave Shutton, who first appeared in 2 Cars in Every Garage and 3 Eyes on Every Fish, just happens to be walking by down on Evergreen Terrace with his old-timey camera around his neck.
So, seeing the dog on his hind legs balancing a beer can on his nose, Dave Shutton says to himself that this kind of shot you only get once in a lifetime. So as he goes to aim the old-timey camera, the can falls from Santa's little helper's nose onto the ground. And so, repeating the words, once in a lifetime, the Springfield shopper photog places the can back on the pooch's nose and takes the picture. Santa's little helper has made the front page of the weekend edition of the Lifeway section of the Springfield Shopper, with the headline, Ale of the Pup. Seeing this, the CEO of Duff Brewery, H.K. Duff VII, is inspired.
This photo gives me an idea. We might have found our new Duff spokesperson. He's young, he's slim, and he can stand on his hind legs. Unlike our current spokesman.
Ooh. Duffman could use an eye-opener.
Take a hike, Duffman. You're a disgrace to the unitard.
You're firing me? But what about my children? Duff Girl and Duff Lad?
Oh, those were one-shot characters in a Super Bowl ad.
Oh, yeah.
According to this contract, we have to change his name to Suds McDuff.
I don't care if his name is Boney McDork. Just make the checks out to me.
Who plays the CEO, H.K. Duff VII?
Why, that's actor of Hollywood and theater, Mike Hammer himself, Stacy Keach. And this is his second appearance as the CEO of Duff. The first being in Hungry Hungry Homer, our 263rd episode. And he's since been on the show 4 more times, 3 of them reprising his role as H.K. Duff, Marge and Homer turn a couple play, Waiting for Duffman and Havana Wild Weekend. He also played retiring safety inspector Don Buckner in season 26, Bart's New Friend, written by Judd Apatow. And we've reviewed all of those episodes except for Waiting for Duffman.
So what's our problem?
I don't think we like Duffman that much.
It's true.
Yeah.
Lisa examines the finer points of Santa's Little Helpers' contract with Duff Beer, noting that they receive royalties in perpetuity, a bottomless keg of beer, and an unlimited use of the Duff corporate jet. The way she says Duff corporate jet, I know we're not playing a clip, but like it sounds like she's impressed. I feel like modern Lisa would be like, this is a horrible thing for the environment.
Exactly, yeah.
Despite the incoming check and lifetime of free beer, Homer is most impressed by the corporate jet. So he imagines flying in the air in a tux and top hat, martini in hand. He has the pilot to swing by Heidelberg to drop in Oktoberfest. When Homer pops his head through the curtain into the cockpit, he discovers that there is no pilot and lets off 3 screams. And back to reality, Homer reflects on his fantasy saying sweet. Just imagining that elaborate flight of his death.
And he's happy about it. He's like, that's the life. Homer hugs Santa's Little Helper, welcoming him back to the family. And Bart reminds his father that moments ago he hated the family dog. This leaves Homer to ask Bart, what are you, my biographer?
So Homer, Marge, Maggie, Bart gather around the TV to watch Krusty the Clown, who's welcoming an animal expert. The animal being shown is the toxic pricker snake. Not a real snake, right, Steve?
No, it's not.
Okay. Krusty goes to his mark located between the snake and its baby. So the snake wraps itself around the clown's neck, choking him while hitting him in the eye repeatedly. Krusty begs the producers to cut to commercial, and they do by dropping in an image of Mr. Teeny driving an ambulance with 2 large clown feet sticking out of the rear. And below it says, "We'll be right back."
And the ad for the kids show begins at the International Space Station. As they watch, Bart points out that this is Santa's Little Helpers commercial. So inside the space station, an American astronaut tells Houston that they have a problem. This place is Dolesville. A Russian cosmonaut agrees, wondering how one could get a buzz chewing freeze-dried beer. But outside their window, they see a spacecraft shaped like a bottle of Duff beer. Using the space station as a bottle opener, Santa's Little Helper appears wearing sunglasses and a Hawaiian shirt. He's surrounded by bikini-clad babes and several bottles and cans of Duff. And for the younger folks, born, I guess, after like 1986, he is parodying Spuds MacKenzie, who was a spokesdog in the 80s and early 90s for Bud Light. I think he's really well known as like the party dog, and the Simpsons have made fun of him before, but also he's like kind of looked down upon by a lot of parental groups because they were worried that a dog promoting beer would make children want beer when they don't realize that beer makes children want beer.
It was just like a kind of crazy, if you think about it, if young kids watch that ad today, they'd be like, the fuck were people thinking about?
Mm-hmm.
Beer commercials used to be so cool, though.
I know.
Have they brought Spuds MacKenzie back? Like, I feel like they brought him back for some reason.
Yeah, in 2017, the character appeared in Bud Light's Super Bowl 51 advertisement as a ghost who helps a man named Brian reunite with his friends in an homage to A Christmas Carol.
Wow.
And the house on the number in that segment was 1989, which was the year that Spuds MacKenzie was retired.
Right when The Simpsons started. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the space travelers are relieved that Spuds McDuff is here, bringing a shuttlecraft of genuine draft. So they crack open some brewskis and enjoy the company of women. And Spuds flips on the switch from power up to party down. And Lisa has some questions about the beer commercial shown on a children's programming. And as we'll hear in this clip, Steve, someone else questions Homer's relationship to the spokes pup.
Duff, the official beer of NASA, National Association of the Sellers of Alcohol.
Yay!
Why does a dog have human girlfriends?
People do crazy things in ads, like eat at Arby's.
8, 9, 10 wads of cash. Your dog has sent Duff beer sales through the roof.
Boy, you're now second best in the family, right ahead of Marge.
There you are, old pal. I finally found you.
Who the hell are you?
I'm this dog's owner. I raced him at the Greyhound track under the name Santa's Little Helper. Good times. Well, he's not yours anymore. You threw him out on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, don't listen to him, Mr. Duff the Seventh. We took this dog in and loved him, and that makes him ours.
Oh, really? Well, this tape says different.
Kid, let me make this perfectly clear. I have no dog.
So to go to the beginning of that clip, I like Lisa pointing out that she's confused why the dog would have human girlfriends. But I also like, I know it's kind of trite at this point, but like Marge making fun of Arby's. Good singer, Marge. I'm proud of Marge for that one.
Was this their second Arby's joke?
I think so, yeah. And as writer Bill Oakley has said, he feels bad because he enjoys Arby's, and I think Arby's is an underrated chain that is better than it needs to be and is unfairly maligned.
Well, it's because the word Arby's is just a funny word.
It is, yes. It's a funny word.
I haven't had Arby's in a long time because the Arby's in my neighborhood, or the one that's in our town, a couple of years ago, maybe it was like a year or two ago, the manager was arrested for like child pornography and peeing in the milkshake thing. So kind of a little nervous to go to that Arby's, Steve.
Yeah, you don't want to get pee in the milkshake. And whatever else he did, that's fine.
Yeah. We probably talked about it on this podcast.
I think I remember that, yeah.
But let's look at Homer's ranking of family members. So it's funny that he puts himself on the list as well. Of course, he's number one.
Right. And then the dog, just listed as dog, is listed in between him and Marge with an arrow.
It's nice that he's got Marge second, at least.
Yeah. Followed by Lisa, then Bart, then Maggie, and then, because the dog's up top, dog is crossed out. And then at the very bottom is Vegas wife.
Vegas wife. Another fun, great reference. Didn't she die, Vegas wife? Or was that Ned's Vegas wife died? Because I remember they went to a funeral to one of them.
Yeah, I think it was Homer's Vegas wife.
Oh, okay. R.I.P. Vegas wife.
Indeed.
And then, hey, Steve, Les Moore, the dog owner, the original dog owner, this is his second appearance. Of course, the first was the first episode. He's also appeared in Tapped Out. Again, R.I.P. Tapped Out. I think it died recently, or...
Officially, yeah, I think so.
Okay, wow. He was in the Simpsons movie, but probably just in the background.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, in the mob scene background, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
He was also in the 2005 book, The Simpsons, One Step Beyond Forever. Is that like a fictional book? Like, you know how like back in like the 80s, 70s, 60s, there would always be like book tie-ins. Like, ooh, sweet, a Mission Impossible book. Or
oh, yeah.
Star Trek books. Was that what this book was, a Simpsons book?
So in the early era of The Simpsons, you had a lot of Simpsons media that was like, especially during the Bart Mania era, like Bart's Guide to Life. And then there were like Simpsons like character guides. And I think trying to revive that, probably for like the 15th anniversary, they came out with a book to like highlight some of the more modern characters. So they gave like character profiles to a lot of the newer characters, such as like Duffman, Constance Harm, Judge Snyder, and they threw in a bio of Les Moore, kind of giving him some sort of backstory.
Fun, Steve. Maybe we'll read it in our book club.
Perhaps, yeah. We'll put that on the Patreon for a monthly book reading. So as Les Moore puts a collar around Santa's little helper, Bart cries out to Homer that they can't lose their beloved family dog. Meanwhile, Homer is saddened that his cash is being taken away, as he cries out, "My wads!" sobbing that he never even got to break open a wrapped stack of cash. Santa's little helper is driven from the Duff Brewery in the back of a pickup truck, leaving Bart to wonder who will eat his homework now.
Fine, I'll do it.
I won't do it. It's gross.
What if his homework is apple pie and pudding?
Maybe I will then. I do like apple pie and pudding.
Okay.
One of my favorite desserts.
Bart tries to make the best of the situation, attempting to play fetch with Snowball 2. So he tosses a stick, but the cat is indifferent, because it's a cat, curling up and sitting down. When Bart asks what the cat does for fun, Snowball 2 just hacks up a hairball. Meanwhile, Santa's little helper is doing the rounds on the morning talk show circuit, appearing on Live with Regis and Kelly.
So, Suds, you're looking great. What, did you have a bath or something? Look at me, I'm talking to a dog. So, what do you think? If I keep talking over here, Kelly can't jump in, right? Come on, Suds, toss me a bone.
Poor Santa's little helper. He's overworked.
Suds, I hear you're doing game shows now. Gelman, roll the clip.
Things you buy in a dime store. Famous first ladies. Things your toothbrush might say.
Then later that day, you had a book signing.
That guy exploits his pets worse than Bob Guccione.
Well, I'm afraid the law is clear, and Dad did renounce all claim to ownership.
But I miss him. He was my best friend.
Oh, there, boy. I'll help you get him back.
Do you have to explain what a Regis is to listeners?
Yes, so in the... I don't know how far back to go. In the 90s...
I can tell. He was the sidekick on the Joey Bishop show. So now listeners know.
Perfect, yes,
all right.
That's all you need to know.
It's funny because they're just doing a Regis impersonation. And Regis was hot at this time, too, because millionaire. Like, did they want him to do the voice? But then he said no, and they're just, we'll just keep the scene in here.
I think so, because I'm trying to remember when, but, like, he had appeared on the show in live action in a Treehouse of Horror with Kathy Lee Gifford.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Which is just a few years ago. But yeah, I think at this time, he was probably so busy and flying high with that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which at the time was probably airing like 3 or 4 nights a week. It's wild to think about. That he's probably too good for The Simpsons at the time. But look at him now.
Dead! Thanks for that one, Steve.
Yeah.
Money's in your bank.
Marge's line about Bob Guccione's pets. Really good, Marge.
Why was that funny?
Bob Guccione is a pornographer. He was the Hugh Hefner of Penthouse, and he famously was not so good with the women that modeled for him. He kept them, well, unfortunately on a short leash, and probably did not so great things. So.
Oh, and Hugh Hefner, some saint?
Oh, no.
Okay.
They're all bad.
Your dad always reminded me of Hugh Hefner.
Thank you.
Homer tells Bart that Santa's little helper may have been a dirty, stinking coward, but show him a Simpson who isn't. And Lisa speaks up saying that she's not a coward, causing Homer to scream at her face in an attempt to scare her. And Lisa sits stone-faced, unfazed, and Homer admits that his daughter is not a coward. And then he goes on to say something else, and then yells in her face once more. The animation, too, in this scene is, like, there's like this one, like, frame of Homer's face. It's, like, really scary looking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw it. I'll have to put that in our Instagram. So Lisa feels that they need to plan to get the dog back, and Homer considers this before screaming at Lisa a third time. So when she fails to react, Homer agrees.
Yeah, really fun run of jokes there. So the family heads to the Springfield's Men Mission, where they add God to your misery. That's where Duffman is staying, but Marge is unsure about entering. Lisa rushes them in just as Gil is being kicked out for overstaying the mission's 6-month residency limit. But Gil vows to make something of himself, and then is drawn to the Springfield Organ Bank, which is offering cash for your eyes. So he enters with a few questions, while Duffman is offering fellow down-on-their-luck men a lesson in adult mathematics.
What do you use for anesthetic? A big mallet? Gee, I'm starting to have second...
Look, there's Duffman.
Okay, if you have 6 liters of blood, and your blood is 80% alcohol, how much alcohol do you have? Anyone?
Hey, Duffman.
Please, I'm not Duffman anymore. Just plain old Barry Duffman. Oh, yeah.
But we need you to be Duffman again so we can get our dog back.
But I like it here, helping the less fortunate. It'll be a cold day in hell before I shill beer again. An icy cold, full-bodied, beechwood-aged, amber-hued, day in. Oh, who am I kidding? Where's my trademark headgear?
Yeah! You really are Duffman! Then I must be Jesus! Up and away! Ah!
Oh. Stay cool, hopeless drunks. Oh, yeah.
4.8 liters. That's the answer.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
I again, it's another joke that they're going into this men's help, shelter or whatever, and you're thinking he's just like a down out drunk like everyone else in there, right? But no, he's like helping the people. It's like,
right.
It's very funny. Like,
it's, yeah.
Like he's actually doing something good with his life right now. And so with the Simpsons showing up, they're kind of like bringing him back to a life of debauchery.
That's really true. Like he was actually doing better as not being Duffman, and they were like, "No, you got to come back." And yeah, that's really funny. I also love the sound effects of Gil.
Oh God, yeah.
Going into the organ bank, being like, "What are you guys for using anesthesia? A couple of mallets." And then just really good stuff.
Yeah, great job for the Foley artist in this episode. I think it was Dave.
Exactly.
Dave Foley.
One of the Daves that I know. So it's time for the Duff Beach Volleyball Tournament, and as a sign posted says, it's something to do. Behind the stands, Bart lays out a plan for Duffman and the rest of the family. Homer will pretend to drown, calling on Spuds McDuff to save him. When the dog proves to be too cowardly, it'll make Duffman the only one that you chug, a lug. So Marge tells Duffman, aka Barry, to give it a rest. Using his regular voice, apologizes to Marge.
So HK Duff VII announces that the paratroopers will honor America by jumping from their planes and crown Suds McDuff the king of Six Pakistan. So as a version of the national anthem plays, 2 skydivers fall to the ground, presenting the spokesdog with a crown, as the other skydiver mentions that this whole stunt cost $50 million, and cries are heard from the nearby ocean, and it's Homer announcing that he's drowning. Six Pakistan is very funny.
It is, and it's also really funny to celebrate America by crowning a king.
Yeah, well, I mean, Steve, as this is recorded, we will be crowning a king in about a week.
That's true.
America. I didn't know, were they the only, the pilots in the plane, were they the only pilots? So, like,
I think so,
the
yeah.
plane just crashed, like, $1 million, like, $50 million airplanes, or however much airplanes are, just crashed.
And probably killed a few people, too.
Sure. And, like, you know, when the national anthem plays, like, is that copywritten? Because it, like, plays, like, the first few bars, but then afterwards it's...
Yeah, you'd think that they could just play the national anthem, but yeah, they go off a little bit and, like, play...
But they're on song, yeah.
An anthem-like song.
It's funny.
So, in a stilted, rehearsed voice, Bart asks loudly, who can rescue the drowning fat man? And Lisa chimes in, saying that the bravest dog in the world, Suds McDuff, can save the day. And Santa's little helper is stripped of his Suds McDuff gear and given room to head to the water. But he sticks his paw in and cowers in fear, a fear that Agnes Skinner recognizes.
That dog is a coward, and I know cowards.
Mother, I served in Nam.
And you've been bitching about it for 30 years.
Everything is going according to plan. I'll just keep thrashing around like an injured seal.
Now's your chance, Duff Man. You can save my dad and look like a hero.
Don't send a Duff dog to do a Duff man's job. Hold on, sir. Soon you'll be filling your lungs with Duff, Duff Light, or new Duff Blue. Tap into the Peppermint Glacier.
All right, Steve, I know you don't drink anymore, but I got you, well, they don't really have Duff Blue, so I decided to make my own. So I got some Budweiser mixed with minty fresh Listerine. So that's what I imagine that Duff would taste like. So here you go.
It's refreshing. What's good about it is, like, when I drive home, I don't have to pretend to put in mints, because I'm already good.
I don't remember much from this episode, but that line of Agnes Skinner, like, Mother, I went to Vietnam, and just for saying, you've been bitching about it for 30 years, like...
Yeah.
I kind of remember that line when I first saw this episode years ago, and I just loved it and laughed, and, like... Just so funny. It is just really just so funny because I guess I've never heard Agnes swear, so I think that's why it was great.
Yeah, and just her saying bitching and like hitting it so hard, it's really funny.
Good stuff. Duffman leaps from foot to foot, ready to save Homer and become the hero that Suds isn't. His bravery is on display until he learns that Homer is surrounded by a shark, aka Bruce, the star of Jaws. I'm assuming that's Bruce. Doing another game.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Duffman retreats, cowering next to a Santa's little helper, asking, "Are you there, God? It's me, Duffman." So Duffman just got his period.
It's bad if he did get his period, because the shark will be like, hey, that's some blood.
What I like about the scene is no one else is willing to help Homer.
Yeah.
They're all like standing around waiting for Santa's little helper to save him, and now Duffman, but then no one's like going to try to attempt to save him.
Is there no lifeguard on duty? Like, it has to be a beer spokesperson?
Yep.
That's funny. So, Homer, using a Duff keg as a flotation device, thinks to himself, how did that beautiful young naked lady in Jaws make it out alive? Spoiler alert, she didn't. The shark soars out of the water, into the air, sinking its teeth into not into Homer's meaty flesh, but rather the keg. And feeling the effects of the beer, the shark falls back. Otto notices that the sea creature is wasted, And as Sideshow Mel points out, he's gone from predator to partier.
So the shark, pained from the alcohol, washes ashore and is met with laughter from the crowd on the beach. And H.K. Duff sees the shark as an opportunity. Guys want to be him, women think they can change him. He then welcomes the beer company's newest mascot, Duff McShark. And the crowd chants as the spokesfish's name, and Lesmore realizes that Suds is no use to him anymore. So he gives Santa's little helper back to his loving family, the Simpsons. And Homer apologizes and tells Marge to prepare for the proper festivities.
Marge, prepare the celebration ham.
All we have left are the earthquake ham and the condolence ham.
Marge, they're just hams, okay? Well, boy, now that we've got you back, I'm never gonna let you go again.
Uh-oh, Dad. I think he peed on the rug.
To me, that says I love you.
I think he left a big hug in your lunchbox.
It's probably that stupid cat.
That cat saved your life.
What has he done for me lately?
He woke you up when you stopped breathing last night.
Yeah, but he ate the last can of tuna.
Dad, you ate the last can of tuna.
Everyone's against me.
Is everyone against you?
I think the world's against me, yes.
I would agree with that.
I like that Homer is saying that Marge is dumb for specifying which hams are hams. And, yeah, I think that was a lot of fun.
Well, Steve, you think taking a break would be a lot of fun?
I do think so.
All right, well, we're going to do that. So let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Someone needs the Amish to the buggy mobile.
And we're back, Steve. Let's wrap up this week's episode. Old Yeller Belly. We'll talk about some of our favorite jokes and jokesters, scenes that made us laugh, and then review it, and then find out what we're watching next week. But before all that, Steve, we like to find something from this episode that could become a GIF. No, not those funny little images you see people sending you on text messages, but gift with a T at the end.
Ah.
Yeah.
GIFs, I think they're pronounced.
Yeah, GIFs. So, I did give you some stuff earlier in the episode, but, you probably want some more things. So, if anytime you need some electrical help around the house, I hired the Amish for you, so they will come on over, so you get a cowbell that will bring them to you.
I need more cowbell!
Oh, Steve, that's funny.
Humor.
I also fired your current mail carrier and hired the Nazi Hitler mail carrier from The Simpsons, so he'll be your new mail carrier.
Oh, good.
I have that power, I can fire people.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, you have a new pet snake.
Oh, boy.
The prickly snake that tried to kill Krusty. So you have a pet to take care of, the Amish to help you, and a new mail carrier. So those are your gifts.
Well, that's very nice of you, Craig. I also got you some things. I got you a Batman costume, a Spock costume, and a Spider-Man costume, but don't fear. All the butts have not been torn out by the Riddler, so you are safe. I also got you a cartoon turkey for your eating delight. And possibly also for your eating delight, I got you some of Bart's cock.
I was hoping for Marge's ham, but here we are.
I mean, you can have her ham after you finish Bart's cock.
What about Mrs. Kerbopple's bean?
If you've got a Jimmy Dean, you can flick that bean.
Oh, that's a good slogan for Jimmy Dean sausages.
Yeah.
All right, Steve, what made you laugh in this episode?
I really like Homer driving past the lumber yard, through the woods, to the train track to steal those ties. Gil going to the organ bank to get his eyes removed for some cash. Marge doing a family check of going pointy, spiky, stylish, where's Baldy? Her dig at Arby's. Yeah, all around, I think there was a lot of funny in this episode. Oh, I love Homer's fantasy about having access to the private jet and the pilot not being there. Those are probably, my funniest moments. What about you, Craig?
The lumberyard joke is probably my favorite. And I loved when they were setting up Duff Man is, living at the men's shelter because he's, down on his luck, but he's there actually helping people. And in reality, the Simpsons kind of fucked him over. Just because they needed their damn dog back. At Moe's, with Santa's little helper, or Snowball too, and his food is very funny. Yeah, Marge getting a couple zings in there with the Arby's joke and the Guccione joke. Marge is a contender for MVJ. I think this is another Homer episode. This is definitely the era of Homer is dumb. Dumb funny comes from Homer, because you said the imagination of the airplane and the private jet was hilarious. Talking about Frink Lloyd Wright and not knowing who that is. Him not knowing how the naked lady in Jaws survives, even though she doesn't. Just a lot of dumbness. What did you think of this episode, Steve?
I don't know how I felt about it initially, if I saw it when it was live, but I had a lot of fun with this episode. The idea of a Duff Man heavy episode normally doesn't appeal to me, but I think we are dealing with a lot of funny things. There's a lot of jokes, and we're dealing with Homer, kind of beyond jerk-ass Homer, and we're in the dumb era of Homer, which is kind of a bit more fun. And he's like not quite the good dad that he is in the modern age, but he's still pretty much well-meaning and not selfish. I like the dynamic of Snowball 2, who never really gets a chance to shine, so her being the star is kind of fun. The nod to less more is good times, and I think Stacy Keach did a good job. So in all, I had a lot of fun with this episode. I think it is a watch. I like just how silly the jokes were, and it's just kind of a funny, very cartoony episode. I like the way that, like in the beginning, the Bart and Lisa are both very childlike, very 50s Americana childlike. And I like the fact that everyone showed up for the opening of a treehouse for a kid. It really bends the limits of a sitcom, and it shows why The Simpsons is a cartoon. And so for that, I think it's a lot of fun, and so I recommend this one. And if I had to give it a numerical rating, listen, this is the 310th episode of both the show and our podcast. So out of 310, I'm going to give this a solid 289. What do you think, Craig?
Yeah, no, I agree. I probably was initially, this episode was probably I don't like it, when it aired in 2003. But it is just one of those just silly, dumb, fun episodes. If it's on TV, I'm going to watch it because it's joke after joke. I imagine Matt Groening didn't like it because the dogs are portrayed, Santa's Little Helpers kind of betraying human characteristics, same with the cats. This is definitely the era where, you feel like, when you were Simpsons fans, that this was oh man, they kind of jumped the shark, and they're just wackiness, and Duff Man now has an episode. But, we've watched so many newer episodes after this, that I feel like this is kind of that nice, after season 8, kind of fun adventure, before Lady Gaga shows up, right?
That's right.
But definitely Homer not being a jerk-ass anymore is nice, and you're right, the family is kind of nice to each other, except for Santa's Little Helper.
Mm-hmm.
I approve, Steve. This was a lot of fun, and I want to continue watching The Simpsons. There you go. If I give this a ranking, look, they make Spuds MacKenzie reference, and I'll have you know, Steve, Spuds MacKenzie was actually a female bull terrier named Honey Tree Evil Eye.
That bitch.
Exactly. But she sadly died in 1993. It was a murder-suicide, Steve.
Oh, boy.
Could you imagine? That's not. So, out of 1993, which of course is the year movies are allowed to be good, because Jurassic Park came out that year.
Of course.
I'll give this my favorite year of cinema, 1989.
Ooh, good year. And I'm not talking about the tire.
All right, Steve. I had fun watching the 310th episode of The Simpsons, and this being our 310th episode. Looking at the episode guide, Steve, the 311th episode of The Simpsons has not been reviewed by us. So let's continue this fun trend. Let's just go right on to the next episode from season 14, episode 20. How about that?
I like it.
Look, we're not going to keep doing this because I think we probably did review the 312th episode of The Simpsons, right?
I'm looking here at our files.
And that's you going through files. Good sound effects.
Yes, we have.
What was that, Steve?
That would be the Bart of War, which was 100 episodes ago in episode 210.
Wow.
I have no recollection either.
Well, luckily you didn't see what the episode 311 of The Simpsons was, right? Because I need you to come up with the title.
Of course, no, I skipped the that file, because, that's the way the files work.
The odds and even files.
Exactly. So I think, this episode is entitled Old Yeller Belly, which is a take on a classic dog movie. So I'm going to say that next week's will also be another dog-inspired title, which will be 101 Ralphmations.
All right. I was nervous you were going to do a Turner and Hooch joke on him like I did that last week, Steve.
Of course, I checked my files. Good.
That sounds like a fun episode. lots of Ralph jokes, but I don't think that's going to be the episode, Steve, because, in fact, it's called Break My Wife, Please?
Okay.
What would break my wife? Do you want me to tell you the spelling of break? Because there's...
Yeah, because I worry that it's...
A sexual one?
Yeah.
It's Brake.
Break my wife, please.
Mm.
Break my wife, please. Break my wife, please.
Now as Matt Berry.
Break my wife, please.
There you go.
So I think that Marge turns into an automobile because of the wizard, and it's up to Homer to stop her from wreaking havoc, or, since she's a car, breaking her.
Yeah, that sounds like fun, but unfortunately, Steve, you're a dumb idiot and wrong.
No.
Yeah.
That's true.
All right. Do you want to know the actual synopsis?
I don't know if I can understand it since I'm a dumb idiot, but yeah, I guess so.
Okay, well, when Homer, he's the bald guy, right?
I'm the bald guy.
The cartoon bald guy, Steve.
I'm pretty animated, but okay.
He's banned from driving, and Marge becomes stressed, having to drive everyone around while Homer enjoys walking everywhere, until Marge drives into him.
Oh.
Stevie was written by Tim Long.
Oh, boy.
I bet we're going to have a long discussion. Oh, man.
Tim.
Original air date, May 11th, 2003. All right, Steve. We are continuing our saga of episode numbers, but this is, I guess, probably it. So we'll probably have to bring the Wheel of Random next week. So sorry, folks.
Yeah.
We're not going to continue on. Unless Bard of War. That'd be stupid if we just, did that one again, right? Imagine us doing, an episode we already reviewed.
That would be silly.
Okay, we won't do that.
Of course not.
But in the meantime, Steve, I need our listeners to do this very important thing, and that is contacting us on social medias or email at 13simpsons@gmail.com, at 13simpsons, of course, on Instagram and YouTube and Threads.
And hey, while you're thinking about us, go to your favorite podcatching app, leave us 5 stars or the equivalent, but you don't need to write a real review. Just tell us the spokesperson or animal that you would like to see advertise for us.
And check out our TeePublic site, tpublic.com/user/AnnoyedGruntBoys for Annoyed Grunt Boy merch. That's it for this week. I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Craig.
And I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Steve.
And remember to prepare your celebration hams.
People do crazy things, like eat at Arby's.
Stay cool, hopeless drunks. Oh yeah.